Is this on? Fuck knows. Hello, everybody. Reggie Time here. Hopefully, this is on. Hopefully, this is live streaming. We're going to wait a few moments until I actually see if this thing's fucking working properly. But in the meantime, um, yeah, we're going to be looking at some hands I played on the 25 and L Streets on Party Poker. The reason that I am playing there is because um, I had a good month last week, last fucking hell, Reg, last month on Party Poker, on fucking hell, Reg, on an iPoker skin. Things went really well, but I felt towards like the end of the month, or however you want to put it, yeah, towards the end of the month, I guess. Um, Even though my results stayed okay, playing there is I felt I wasn't playing well. I wasn't playing anywhere near well enough um, compared to my usual way of playing. I'm not saying I'm a good player in general, but I didn't play particularly well. I don't think so. I just thought, well, let's just have a few days, sorry, in the gym, as I call it, playing in some tougher games and just getting my game back in the shape I'd like it to be. And I got a little bit sloppy. I was like calling too many three bets. I was just playing like a little bit too passive and stationary. Those games I've been playing on iPoker are pretty good, but they're going multi-way a heck of a lot of the time. They're not particularly aggressive, so I was just lacking discipline really, and like playing against like quite a lot of loose passive players, and my game just degraded. Statistically, I was talking to my good friend Duesenberg last night, and when we looked at my stats, they weren't as bad as I thought they were, but I just felt that my game wasn't in the shape I wanted it to be in. So I was like, let's just stick $100 on Party Poker and spend a few days in the gym trying to improve a few things, trying to get back to some having more solid fundamentals, which is what my game's basically built on, and to go from there. Um, I was expecting to probably break even or lose, but I thought it's $100 well spent. Even if I just play 3 or 4 thousand hands, don't really make much money. Just put in like maybe a couple of days in, 8 hours or so, it would do me some good. So that's what we've done, and these hands are the like some of the more interesting hands that I've played where I think they're worth looking at with you guys just to have a bit of a chat. We haven't made a video for a little while, and just to see if there's any love for doing a live stream. So that's kind of where we're at with it. I'm just going to share this stream to various places, and then we'll get on with looking at the hands, and hopefully some chat will come along at some point. Hopefully, you never know. It might be totally dead. This might end up just being a waste of time doing the stream, and maybe we should just be doing a recording. But we'll see. If this goes well again, then we'll do it again in the future. If it doesn't, then never mind. We'll just go back to doing recordings. Really not a big problem. Just doing a post to Facebook. Apologies for this, gentlemen. If anyone's watching, it literally won't take more than a minute from now. Not going to bother posting to Twitter because most of my Twitter followers aren't poker people, but there is a couple of Facebook groups I'm in that I think might enjoy it, and then we'll get on with the hands. Please bear with me. I am not the fastest at these type of things, but I think we're going to be good to go in just a moment. If you are in the chat, please just type anything on YouTube just to let me know it's actually fucking working, because we've got one person watching apparently, which doesn't seem like a lot, but fuck it, we'll go for it, and then hopefully it will catch on or catch up. So yeah, we're starting off with the Ace King of Spades. Yeah, raise under the gun. But most of these players are going to be unknown to me. I might know something about them now in hindsight, but at the time, almost every player was unknown to me. I'm not particularly familiar with the Party Poker 25 and L pool. There's a few players who I was familiar with who disappeared when Russia disappeared, which was nice. So this is like kind of a newish pool to me. It feels not super tough. It's nitty, I think. Pretty tight. There are some fish in it. Well, what feels like some fish, but I don't think it's a particularly tough pool. It's certainly nowhere near as tough as say GG, for example. And I think it's better than Triple Eight in some ways because there's nowhere near as many like asshole fucking short stackers who buy in for the minimum and then like dribble their stacks down. So um, that's my read on the pool to date. So we've opened the Ace King here. We've got a King 8-8 flop. Um, Again, I don't know much about this guy. I'm going to assume everyone's like pretty nitty regular until proved otherwise. So I think this King 8-8 flop should be pretty good for us. Probably shouldn't have too much 8x in his whatever that's going to be. I'm playing five-handed, so if we're middle position, he's going to be hijack. Probably shouldn't have too much 8x in his flatting range. I mean, I guess he could have some like 8-9 suited, 7-8 suited, etc. But not very many combinations. Doesn't have many offsuit 8x, ace 8 maybe. There's some suited 8x I guess he can have, but should have on balance be a pretty good flop for us. But I'm just going to check my entire range here on this board. Sometimes calling, sometimes raising. I think on this board, I'm not sure if we should. I mean, I'm going to raise this board coming out. I am definitely going to raise this hand. But I'm not sure we should do. I'm not sure we should just keep checking and just let him keep like betting to protect if he thinks he's got like pocket nines, pocket sevens, pocket tens, that type of thing. He might just bet here to try and make me fold. If he thinks I've just got two overcards or what have you, he might bet here for thin value if he thinks his pair's good and I will call with worse. Of course, he can have some 8x. He can have some king exits. He's just going to want to bet for value and then have a hard time folding when we raise. He could have some flush draws, maybe, although, again, probably shouldn't have too many draws. I don't know really, but I think I'm just going to check raise here because that's one of the values of checking your entire ranges. Sometimes you can get some raises in for value and people would just call with worse hands. So we did go with the raise. He called very, very quickly, which made me think his most likely holding was a draw or a king. I think if he had like a more marginal hand, he would take a bit more time over it. If he had an 8, he would surely take a little bit more time over it when he's been check raised. But he called pretty quickly, so I thought he was mostly in the King X2 flush draw type range, type holdings. Maybe some like weakish made hands, pocket tens, pocket nines, maybe pocket jacks if he hasn't 3-bet them. We go with a barrel on the turn, around 2/3 pot. Very reasonable. He's not going to fold a king. Probably won't fold a flush draw. This probably will get him off any like random pocket pairs that he decided he wanted to see one more card with. He called again very, very, very quickly, and we get to this river. And now it's the question going through my mind was: do we value bet big here to get value from a king? Do we check to allow him to bluff with missed hearts, or do we block bet, which allows him to call with some like bluff catchers that just don't believe us because the hearts have missed if he is in a pocket pair territory? He might just call, thinking, well, a lot of my range is missed if we are check raising hearts a lot or what have you. Or could we block bet? And then just, sorry, I've lost my train of thought here. But the options were kind of bet big, check or block bet, I think. Check with the intention of calling, block bet with the intention of probably calling if he raises, because what is he really representing? I think I did end up going with the block, and he goes all in relatively quickly. So we like check this all the way back to the flop when we called and he snap called at when we check raised and he snap called the turn. I was not convinced, but I was relatively confident he would just have a flush draw here, because when people like call pretty quickly facing bets, it's because it's a relatively easy decision for them. They haven't had much to think about. It's usually because they've either had a draw or just something that they're doing like some mental trap with. And I've kind of thought it's probably more, but I don't know. I mean, I'm not very good at combinatrix. Maybe there's more combinations of 8x he has here than there are flush draws, but I thought, well, the way I played the hand, like check raise, flop, bet, turn, block, river, this is like one of the best hands I'm going to have to do this with. Maybe I have an 8 sometimes, maybe with some other pocket kings, but we're pretty damn close top of our range here, and we have taken a bit of a weird sizing on this river, so I just didn't want to fold, chose not to fold, and the man had quads because this is fast fold poker, and when people go all in on rivers, they tend to have very good hands. So sadly, um, we lost out on that one. Moving to the next hand, we have this player who's almost certainly going to be a fish. He's not playing a full stack. He's opening for a full pot. He opens to 3.4 big blinds. We 3-bet to 13 bigs. He's a fish. He's bet. He's like raised pretty big pre-flop already. There's no reason to make a small 3-bet here, in my opinion. We are in the big blind too. So, sorry, we are in the small blind, and we'd like to knock the big blind out of the pot. This guy's weird. He plays more than one table. He doesn't always have a full stack. So I'm not sure if he's a fish, a reg, or a reg fish. But we did make it 13 bigs. We flop ourselves a flush draw on a board that this guy probably isn't going to have too many folds on. And what I didn't want to have happen here would be like if we see bet, he just floats and then the turn just comes like the 3 of fucking diamonds or something. And we're in ourselves a weird spot where we just have to shove the turn, knowing we're probably getting called, or check and hope he checks back to realise. So I decided I wanted to go for a check raise here, I think. And that was my plan. Maybe if we check, maybe he stabs the pocket pair, we get to go all in. Then he either has to call with a hand that's like kind of flipping against us at best, or just fold his equity. So my plan was go for a check raise here. He didn't accommodate us, and the 8 of clubs comes down on the turn. I didn't feel we could bet this card. It wouldn't look too credible, I don't think. Maybe it would. I mean, if I'm always checking aces on this flop, which I would do, to check raise, then maybe we can just bet this turn. But I decided to check again, and then he like snap potted, and I frankly just didn't believe that he would want to like just pot this turn. What like wants to bet this turn that didn't want to bet this flop was kind of what I was thinking. If he has like the kind of hand I expect him to have some of the time, like medium pocket pairs or what have you, then surely he just bets the flop with them. Why would he wait for the turn to pot it? I mean, 10-9's a thing that could easily have got there now, and if he's got 10-9, then fucking that's just unfortunate for us. Would 10-9 sometimes bet the flop? I don't know. I just don't know this guy from a hole in the wall. But we still have a lot of equity. And, you know, he can have worse draws. So I decided just at this point to, and this could be a little bit spewy, but I decided to just flick it in, just because we have reasonable equity. He might just have some worse hands sometimes. Not very often, but he might have worse. I mean, he doesn't have worse. If he's only in one pair territory, we still have, 15 outs against that. So what's that like, buddy? 15 outs, 30% equity. So if this doesn't work and he calls, we're still likely to have 30% equity. And if we just have a set, then, you know, we're not doing too good there. We've probably got 20% equity against a set. But I decided just to YOLO it. And he called with the King Jack and didn't get there. I mean, not really sure what he's doing there, but it was certainly a nice pickup for us. And to the next hand, we have the Ace-6 of spades. We get an open from the small blind. I have no idea. I haven't looked at a pre-flop chart in forever. I don't know if this is 3-bet or not, but I'm trying to be more active from the blinds in blind versus blind confrontations. So I elected to 3-bet here. Don't know if that's good, bad, or just whatever. Could be good, could be bad. Don't know anything about this guy. Don't know the first thing about him, in fact. But I do know he calls a 3-bet out of position, and we get a pretty dry flop. Backdoor flush draw. That means it feels like it's a mandatory c-bet to me. And we decided to go with 60%. And this is something that I think anyone watching this back, because it doesn't appear too many people watching live, won't like. I think this sizing is a size that won't be popular with the lads who use solvers, etc. I think when we c-bet, he was supposed to c-bet pretty small, just because it's like a dry board, etc., etc. But I've really fallen out with small C bets for the most part. I still use them occasionally, more against people who I know are regulars rather than like unknowns. I just don't think they do the job. I don't think they get enough folds when you want folds. I don't think they do a great job of getting like lots of value when you actually want to get value with your hand. So I'm using like more old school sizings with them more like 60%, 50%, and what have you. Just using bigger sizes in 3-bet pots. Well, bigger sizes all over the place, really. I'm not doing too many small bets at the moment. And to be honest with you, I think it helps me play better. I believe the cool kids these days say, like they use a phrase, not for this situation, but they use a phrase saying, we want to do X, Y, and Z because it gives us more clarity, which is a lovely way of saying, I'm betting to find out where the fuck I'm at. Because that's all that means. I was watching a stream the other week and some guys on saying, I'm going to do this because it gives us more clarity on rivers. I mean, that's just, surely it gives us more clarity on rivers just means um, I want to find out where I'm at, or I want to find out where my opponent's at. When you're saying you're doing something to give you more clarity, it's basically just saying, I'm betting for information. That's what it basically means, and I'll fight anyone who says otherwise. So we're betting larger here. If he does call, then it's just more likely he's going to have a relatively good hand that we can have more information to play against on later. So if we bet, just say like 35%, if we bet, let's say, whatever that would be, 6 or 7 blinds, he's going to be, entitled to and want to float more. And then we're going to get to the turn of the river against a range that's got more hands in it than it would if we bet this size, which, again, is pretty fishy logic. But what I've been finding with these small bets is I've just been getting lost on later streets because I'm like, well, my opponent's supposed to float with a wide range versus these sizings, so therefore he could still have some pretty good hands, he could have some pretty crap hands, etc. And I'm not doing a good enough job of, or I haven't been doing a good enough job of like putting all the pieces together and trying to figure out where my opponent's at on the river, so I can try and make like my best decisions. So I was using a bigger size here, so this probably folds out a lot of air, and only leaves him with some like some stronger hands, but which isn't ideal when we're bluffing. But at least it's going to stop me like from like, just barreling off in dumb spots, I guess, because when people check call 2/3 pot, their range is going to be a lot stronger than when they call 1/3 pot. So therefore, it's going to stop me running some shitty, spewy bluffs against people who don't raise appropriately versus small bet sizes. So we go with the bet, and he calls pretty quickly. We turn an ace, which is good. At least now we have some decent showdown value. I don't want to get raised here because that would stink. So I decided to check back. We river trips. And that opponent, who is an unknown now, just comes up swinging with what looks like 3/4 pot. And the question here, I don't think we ever have a raise here. The question I was asking myself was, how often does Poole bluff in this situation? What bluffs can he have? Like Jack 10 feels like the only like reasonable bluff he can have that would want to do this. Would a queen use his size? No, just no. Not a chance. I think a queen's probably checking or blocking here. More than likely just checking. So yeah, what do we do here? We certainly don't raise, but do we call? I mean, we're not getting a particularly attractive price. We need to be good here. What, like around 30% of the time? So is Poole bluffing here or value betting a worse hand? 30-something% of the time. I suspect not, to be honest with you. I suspect most of the time here we're just going to have the second best hand, even though we have trips, just because it's just not very many natural bluffs for our opponents to have. And I think because our bet size in the flop theoretically folds out quite a lot of like that light floats, then just like what does the guy have here? Jack 10 would be a bluff. King Jack maybe. Could be another one. Maybe Jack 8, but I mean, we 3-bet pre, so Jack 8's probably not there. King Jack suited might be there. Jack 10, so there are some bluffs he can have, but it's not a situation I typically in love with, and I think long term, calling here is going to be a losing play. But because I am a station, I did call, and he just randomly had that, and I have no idea what's happening here, because remember we said back on the flop that we're betting 2/3 pot to discourage loose floats, to collect dead money, however you want to put it, to give us more clarity. Well, none of that didn't work. We didn't get clarity, did we? Because we got to the river and we got donked into by a hand that should just fold the flop. So that was a particularly weird hand. It was very nice to see, and needless to say, this guy got tagged pretty damn quickly. Yeah, we enjoyed that one. Moving on, we've got the 8-5 suited. We raise blind versus blind. We get called. We check the flop. Again, maybe check raising, maybe check calling. I wasn't sure what I was going to do, but we ended up not being able to check raise or check call because our opponent didn't bet. We turn a pair. I check again. Our opponent now bets full pot. So we have a decision here. I think it's not much of a decision. I think it's just a call. But I guess we could raise here because what value hand takes this line from our opponent? He's very unlikely he's turned a set of fives because we have a five. Only one combination of that left. You would imagine he would bet his flush draws on the flop. Why would he wait to the turn to bet with a flush draw? 8-7, that could be a thing. But again, that's going to bet the flop some of the time, you would imagine. King X will probably bet the flop some of the time. So this didn't make a lot of sense to me that he just wants to start potting the turn on what looks like a brick, apart from the 8-7. But I didn't really want to raise either. Just wanted to call and make sure we don't get blown up our hand. If we raise here and he goes all in, then we just have to fold equity, a decent chunk of equity. So that's just a call. We river the flush, and I'm not sure how quickly I act here. No, not too quickly, thankfully. I think we got a decision here. Do we bet to prevent it from checking back a king that just decided not to bet the flop? What other strong hands could he have here that we're now ahead of? 6-5 would be another one maybe that would maybe check back if we checked. So I think there's decent reasons to bet here, but can we check and can we consider raising? If we are going to go for a check raise, then what are we going to try and get value from? Given that we think the most likely hand that improved on the turn was like pocket fives and 8-7. They probably, they both definitely value bet this river, so we can check. But do they then call when the flush gets there? Probably. I'm not happy with how I played this hand because on review now, looking back, I think this is a slam dunk lead or check raise. And I did neither, sadly. But I think leading's probably better. I think now he's bet this big. I think just raising is pretty good because I don't think he has a flush very often. I think flush draws tend to just start betting the flop when we check. They don't wait for the turn to bet. So I think we have like a slam dunk raise here and just hope he's got the set of fives. Some like slow played set of sixes and a flop maybe. 8-7. I think I miss a trick here because I think this is just like a absolute slam dunk raise and then just probably fold. I think we should make this like 40 and possibly fold to a shove. But I didn't want to raise fold because I'm a fucking fairy. I just called, and he had a set of 9, so we lost a lot of value there by not raising that river because very unlikely he was going to fold. But yep, that's it. Never mind. Here we have raised Jack 10 suited pre-flop. We've had 2 callers. As usual, we're just checking the flop. We turn trips, and we bet 5 big blinds, just about. Get 2 calls. River, Queen 10 gets there. 10-7 gets there. That probably shouldn't exist, but we were blocking like the straights with our 10. I think it's a good spot to go for some value. Of course, with our trips. So I'm presuming that's what we do. I think I should probably go bigger than that. I think 2/3 pot or 60% pot. It's pretty lazy from me just hitting the 60% pot, but I think we can and probably should go bigger than that. We get a fold, and then we get this. And that what does this all mean? The guy's like check flop, just check called turn, and now he just like check shoves the river. We're pretty damn close to top of our range. We don't have many better hands than this. I mean, given how I play now, we have pocket threes, we have pocket eights at full frequency because I wouldn't have bet them on the flop. So we do have some full houses with those. We also have do we have Jack nine? Maybe not. I don't think I always open that from middle position or what's middle position in this scenario. So we don't have too many like full houses containing a Jack really here. Yeah. So like, do we have to call this? This is like this guy's almost certainly doing this for value. The question is, do we beat some of his value? And I think with the 10 kicker, it's awkward. I think like if we had an ace here, I think it's a relatively easy fold this, to be honest with you, because we just don't beat any value. Really behind Jack Queen, Jack King, Jack Ace, obviously. We're obviously behind all his full houses. We're behind straights. Bluffs that he can have. I mean, I guess there may be some like gut shots and what have you that maybe missed, but how many of them actually missed? So yeah, I think like with Ace Jack, this is a much tougher situation because we do beat some value. So it makes it a harder fold because I think this is going to be like a full house nearly all of the time and occasionally a straight. But I think Ace Jack probably needs to call. King Jack probably needs to call. I think like Queen Jack, maybe not 10 Jack. I think 10 Jack's probably a fold here. Not a very happy fold. I think probably a fold, and that is what I ended up doing. But I didn't feel particularly good about it. Moving on here, we have two aces. We're going to squeeze it up against two. Well, this guy's not a green tag, but he probably should be because he's not full stack. He goes into the tank a little bit and calls, and we get this flop. Now, checking range is usually my thing. And on boards like this, where we just don't have very strong hands very often, we probably want to check an awful lot of the time. But this guy is probably a fish. This board isn't going to get much better for us very often. So I think it's a flop we just need to bet. The question is that against a fish. Against a regular, I don't think we can bet here too often. Maybe we can. Maybe we can just bet and say, fuck it. But this is where I'm going to deviate from my check everything kind of spot. And I'm just going to bet. The question is now, which size are we going to bet? And I looked at his stack. We got like less than 2x pot. And I decided just that going all in was like the best play. He's not going to fold a pair, I don't think. I mean, maybe if he's got like pocket fours, pocket fives, maybe they fold. But if he's got like pocket nines, pocket tens, if he's got a draw, if he's got a pair plus a draw, he's not folding any of those hands. Or I don't think he's anyway. I don't expect a fish to fold any of those hands. So I just quickly decided it's just an all-in spot. Their opponent quickly decided he was all in too, and we held. You know, it was nice. We dragged down a nice size pot. Here we have the aces. This guy, I think, is a regular. I was only two tabling, and he was at both of my tables quite often. So he maybe 4, 5, 6 tabling. Who knows what? He seemed to play like a regular style from what I'd seen of him so far. He just seemed like a reg. It's hard to say, but he seemed like this guy's just a cunt because he's got sitting out as his username, and that's naughty. In speed poker, it doesn't matter because there's no such thing as sitting out in speed poker. Or very unlikely to be a thing of sitting out. But if you're playing regular tables or tournaments, this username, it's an angle. Bit of a cunt move, but whatever. Anyway, that's about the buy. So here against this guy, I elected just to call here, and I'm doing that because he's raising out the big blind, which if he's a half decent reg, he'll be doing this with like a pretty polarized range. So he's either going to have a hand if I 4-bet that's just going to snap bold or snap get it in. Against stuff that's going to snap get it in, he's almost certainly going to like not fold flops. He's either going to c-bet flops or check call flops. So I don't think we lose value by flatting here. But I think if we 4-bet under the gun versus big blind, then we're just going to get way too many folds because our hand's going to be relatively face up. And assuming he's 3-betting with the polarized range as he's supposed to, then I just didn't feel to me like flatting, like 4-betting aces was going to be a good play here. So we did just call. He C bets a flop for half pot, which I think is more than reasonable on this board. You're going to have some pretty strong hands. I think, I expect people to just check this a lot these days too, for balance, etc. But I mean, I don't mind his bet. But at this point, we just have the best hand almost always. In a 3-bet pot, he probably doesn't have pocket threes. He probably doesn't have pocket fours. I guess he can have pocket nines sometimes, but he's going to have like tens, jacks, queens, kings, aces, ace, king, etc. Loads of hands that were absolutely crushing. And I just wanted to reopen the betting here, either just for him to call, or for maybe for him to 3-bet shove. So I did some like that you guys probably won't like. That's pretty unconventional, and I literally just clicked it back, which I don't think will go down well with a lot of people. But all I wanted to do is like reopen the betting. Either he calls here, and that's pretty cool because we have aces, and there's going to be 60 big blinds in the pot go at the turn with only 87 behind, so that's a cool situation. And we just almost never have the worst hand here. He's going to have to defend an awful lot of his c-betting range because he's getting such a good price. So he can't just like auto fold ace king, ace queen. But lots of his like lighter c-bets that just cannot fold here. And he might just come back straight back over the top with a hand like pocket jacks, pocket queens, pocket kings, etc. Just because this looks pretty fishy. He had no idea who I am probably. So he probably just thinks that this is fishy as fuck. Let's just get value with our overpairs still. So I did. Hope he jammed. He didn't. He just called. Queen on the turn isn't great because it does improve pocket queens, but we're not going to get monster under the bed syndrome about that. So we decided just to basically just bet small with the plan of shoving the river. He calls again, and we have now the easiest shove on the river for like 2/3 pot. And we both had aces because that's the knit life, isn't it? That is just the knit life. Aces versus aces in a speed poker game. Who'd have thought it? We have an ace king offsuit here. We 3-bet versus neoliberal, which is an incredibly annoying screen name for a socialist like me. He 4-bets to 27.2 big blinds. This is probably one of the grimmest situations in fast fold poker, in my opinion, when you have the ace king and you face the 4-bet from under the gun. Because people just aren't 4-betting queens in these spots. They're not 4-betting queens. They're not 4-betting jacks. I mean, your typical shit regs 4-betting range here is going to be pocket aces, pocket kings, some ace king, but not always, and like your typical like ace 5 suited. That is your shit regs like handbook for 4-betting in these situations. And our hand isn't doing very well against anything there except ace 5 suited. I really just dislike this situation. We put 10.5 big blinds in, and we're up against an incredibly strong range. Do we want to put another 108 blinds in here with ace king? That's the question. We can't really call because we're just going to miss the flop too often. And he's just going to see we're going to fold. Give me a guess we can call, but I don't like it. If we just rip it in here, yeah, fine. He's going to have the occasional fold. He's going to fold ace 5, etc. But most of his range is just going to be calling, and we're going to be in not great shape against it. We're either going to have 92% equity or 70, or we're either going to have 8% equity or 30% against most of his shoving range because it's just going to be aces and kings most of the time. That's not a particularly good situation. Yes. Oh, what's your name? Why is it terrible? Yes, Antoy. I stopped playing on PPP on the apps a long time ago. The games just stopped being good, to be honest with you, on the apps. They just stopped being good on PPP, especially. They would just become infested with bots. So I didn't want to play there, and I also didn't want to encourage people to play there. So I cut my association with the apps. Oh, fucking hell, 14 months ago now. They're still going strong. People are still playing on them. I know a couple of people who play on them, but they're not for me because, yeah, it's. I think Poker Bros is still pretty good, but I protected my players as best I could, and the more I learned about them, the more I thought I can't really protect players too well here, especially from bots and things. So I just didn't want to have any part of it anymore. Also, it was causing me a lot of anxiety, shifting all the money around, managing people's money. It just got whether even though I was making more money than I ever made in my life from doing it, it got too stressful. So it was too many negatives, not enough positives for me. Apart, the only positive was I was making quite a lot of money from the rake back, from like the affiliate side of it. But you know, I've got my values, I've got my integrity, and as much as I was making quite a lot of money, it wasn't right for me to continue putting players into an environment that I knew was not well regulated with regards to people using RTA and bots, etc. And on top of that, it was just causing me too much stress. So we just packed in. So yeah, no, we're not on the apps anymore, buddy. So back to this with the Ace King. I'm just going to make a really neat fold here because I just don't think many good things can come of this. We can't really call. If we shove, then his calling range is just going to be crushing us. And I don't think he has enough bluffs. I don't think Pool has anywhere near enough like 4-bet bluffs here to think we've got an awful lot of fold equity. So I mean, again, might be a situation you guys are not a fan of, but I'm just going to fold there, and I'm not going to give too much of a fuck about it. Here we have the aces. You'd noticed earlier I was 3-betting to 10.5x. We're only using 8x here, not for any other reason other than it's under the gun versus middle position, and I'm going to use this size for all my 3-bets here because there's just like lots of people to go behind. Obviously, with the aces, we don't care what happens behind, so we could, you know, just still go the 10.5x. But our range here is going to be what it's going to want to worry about, like 4 people still going behind. So we make it 8x. We get a cold call on the button and a call from the original raiser. I'm going to try and go for a check raise here against the fish on the button. He does bet. We're loving it. And then this happens. So now what? Now what on earth do we do with 2 aces here? It's a 3-bet pot. And it's gone check, bet, massive raise. Like nearly 4x raise. And crucially, we have the ace of clubs, which is a card we'd rather not have here because it significantly reduces the amount of bluffs this guy can have. If we had like 2 aces here without the ace of clubs, we'd just have to go broke. And if this guy's got a set, which I expect he probably has most of the time, then job's fucked. Maybe he just has like pocket queens, pocket jacks that are just like thinking because we checked. We don't have anything, and maybe he's just value raising against somebody who looks like they're a fish because he's got my green tag. So who knows? You know, it's a slightly confusing spot because he could definitely be raising worse here, thinking that we're like kind of out of the pot, given we checked. So I don't think it's like a trivial fold because we do beat value. Like I said, if we didn't have the ace of clubs, that we would just go all in because we beat value, and he can also have like nut flush draws. But because he can't have nut flush draws, it just made me a little bit more nervous. And check raising a 3-bet pot, I mean, it's just set central, isn't it? Is it not just set city? This we've put 8 blinds in the pot. Do we now, against 2 people, we've got 2 people to worry about here? Do we want to put another 101 blinds in when we've only put 8 blinds in with just 1 pair? I decided that I didn't want to, which again, quite a lot of you guys might be like, "What the fuck, Reg? You are an absolute fucking nitball." And I very rarely I fold and watch, but I had to see this one. I had to see it. It's kind of important to know if this guy here is capable of like check raising without a set there or something. Sadly, we didn't get to find out, so never mind. This is going to be the last hand of the what's turned out to be video because no one's got involved in the chat on the live stream. So we've called in the small blind here with pocket 4s, which again isn't something I'm doing with any regularity whatsoever. But this guy's a fish. This guy wasn't playing a full stack. Don't know him. Could be a fish. Might not be. This guy's definitely a fish. So that the value, we're just not going to get squeezed very often by this passive guy. On top of that, just flopping a set multi-way is really nice, especially with at least 2 fish in the pot. And as you can see, I'm about to donk bet here because I just don't trust any of these guys to bet. And there's just lots and lots of value we can get. So, yeah. Unusual play, but we're going with the donk bet. This guy raises to like nearly 3x. I mean, we could just shove here. Or we could just get fancy and call and then just like go for the like the check call or the check shove on the turn. I mean, we're never folding. I mean, the turn could come down like the 10 Jack Queen of clubs, and we're still never folding, obviously. So I don't think we it's not like we've got anything to protect, because if he's got a draw when we go all in, he's calling anyway. So my plan was just call here in case he was just like arsing around or whatever, bluffing. Probably not in a multi-way pot when someone's dunk big, but just in case he is, he's going to give him a chance to bluff them off. So he goes all in, and I'm naughty here. We get the full slow roll on because I'm a cunt. Probably shouldn't do this against fish, to be honest with you. I'd feel much better about it as a reg, against a reg, but I'm just a cunt. We've turned quads, and we've got the chance to slow roll somebody, and these are just opportunities I'm just not willing to turn around. Morning, Rob. You've come at just the wrong time, mate, because it's literally the last hand. And we're going to get the slow rolling, of course, because there we go. And then, yeah, he's drawing dead. So, Rob, enjoy your live play. Does that mean you enjoy these live sweat sessions more? I'd love doing more of them. I mean, I probably should tell people when they're happening in advance. This is my own fault. I'm a little bit sad that there hasn't been a bigger audience so we can have more chat, because the whole point of doing these is to be interactive. Otherwise, it's just like a video. But yeah, it's my own fault because I didn't tell anyone it was going to happen. I didn't schedule it. And yeah, but yeah, if you mean like these live, like interactive or meant to be interactive things, yeah, I'd enjoy doing more of them too. I enjoy your live play, Paul. Yeah, so maybe you're saying you enjoy like the like just like look at. I don't know what you mean, Rob. To be honest with you, and to be honest, I'm probably not that likely to be sticking around to get in touch. But please send me. Right, when I record my actual session. So right, I get it. So you want me to? You enjoy it when I play a full session of like all the cards, and then just like, yeah, I know what you mean. I know what you mean. Well, maybe, if I stick to party poker, which is unlikely, but if I do, maybe those can come, because speed poker, it's easy to do them. But the boring thing about them, Rob, is that if you have like an hour where there's no big pots, nothing much happens, it's really quite dull. And there's so many times I've like set off making videos, and after half an hour it's been like nothing's happened, and I can feel myself getting bored. I'm not saying very much because it's just fucking boring, and that's the issue with them. I think it would work better as a live stream, to be honest with you. Just whack like a 2.5 minute delay on and stream it. That would work better, because at least then you'd have some back and forth with the people who were watching the stream. So yeah, live sweat videos, not sure, but thank you for the feedback, mate. I certainly do appreciate it. But yeah, getting on towards the end of this video now. This guy's drawing dead. He doesn't get there, of course. And then we got the slow rolling at the end. So yeah, I hope you guys who are watching this back have enjoyed it. Sadly, the live thing didn't work, but that's on me. That's my fault. So I'm not going to be salty about it. But there's no right to be salty, because it's been no different to making a video, really, other than it's been live streamed rather than recorded. So yeah, thanks much for watching, everybody. There's a good chance there might be another video coming Thursday. I'm planning on continuing playing on party at least today. So probably some more hands come out of that. Probably a video more than a live stream, I would imagine. But yeah, thanks for watching, everybody. Don't forget to hit the like button if you're watching on delay. And yeah, thanks very much. Take care, everybody. And we'll maybe catch you again Thursday. Bye-bye for now.